Yeah. So welcome back to today's class. And thanks that Palak was asking me to rather just walk through over these examples that I've just taught you yesterday as to what end is and SCP is and all. So let me just explain once again and move on to our today's discussion. So in our yesterday's class, while I was discussing with regarding to the print function, the print is basically used for displaying the output, right? So it's used to display the output on the console. So while we were discussing that, I have told you that there are two interesting manipulators used with print, and those two manipulators includes one is SCP, the other one is basically END. So what does SCP do? Now SCP is a separator used for separating two different variable values. Now I've got in num1 I've got 10, and in num2 I've got 20 point some value. So some values I've just got. While displaying also, I just would like to rather vary. While displaying also, I'd like to rather just display it in such a way that I want both the things to be displayed by a separator. By a separator in the sense, it can be a comma, it can be a hyphen, it can be a line, anything. So you just want to separate that set. So for that particular reason, we're just using it. I'll just run this code and I'll just show you as to how we just do that. Please see. Yeah, just look into this example. Now when I've just run this, you can see that the first number and the second number is this, and here it is. The separator is comma. Now I just want to have a hyphen. I would like to hyphenate it, or I just would like to have equal to. No problem. So now equal to is our separator between num1 and num2. That's how it just works. You just see that. So after 10, it is the equal to symbol that separates the state. Our variable's value. That is how it just works. Now, similarly, we have end equal to also. End equal to is again another. Let us call this as manipulator. So end equal to is a manipulator. SCP is a separator. Sorry, a manipulator. So SCP separates variables. End equal to is used for representing the output in either new line or rather formatting the output. It's just used in doing all these things. So I've just said end equal to /n. When I've just said /n, it means that it just gives us in a new line. But if I just give end equal to in just double quotes, it means that I just would like to append the output. The next line output to be appended with the current line. And similarly /t. /t means tab spacing. This is how we just use it. So tab spacing means it just moves our text. You can see here that it has just moved our text. It has left some space. So num1 and num2 over here to be moved. So that's how the tab spacing works out. It's not mandatory that we have to use in every code that we just do work with. So wherever we feel that we just need to use a separator, we'll just be using it. Or wherever we just need to use endl or end, we just will be using this particular thing. I guess this clarification is clear, Palak.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
that's
Thank
nice.
you.
Okay. So well, coming back to today's class, so I was telling you about the concepts of integer type. I was just telling you about the concepts of floating point type, and I've told you about another one called complex type. That means the data types that we have seen are classified for us into three types: integer, floating point, and complex. These are the three different types of data types that we just see. So among these three types, we just discussed about integer type, have discussed about float type, and then we'll just see about what complex type will be now. So complex is a data type in Python that can be returned in the form of a plus bj. What is this a plus bj? Normally, a plus bj means it is nothing but coefficients or quadratic equations or complex numbers, we call it. Complex numbers in the sense here, a represents the real part. The real part in the sense, say some value of 10.52, something like that. And b represents the imaginary part of the number. imaginary part of the number, in the sense that suppose I just wanted to perform a calculation on a quadratic equation, or I just wanted to find some coefficients. So then we just use this particular thing called a plus bj. So of course I'll work on it. I'll show you an example also on that particular thing. But there are many other topics that are coming up now. Once I just finish this, then finally I'll just take up a small example on that to show as to how complex numbers work. So we have seen that there is another data type here. You can see this tabular format. We have got another format of data type called sequence. This is a very important type, or the data type that we just have to discuss. So now, what sequence actually? Sequence mean a group of value, or group of numbers, or group of elements, or group of items. This is what we call it as sequence. Yeah, now we are in a sequence. So we are 4 and we are in a sequence. So that's how the sequence goes. There are 6 sequence types in Python. Number 1, we have got str. Number 2, we have got bytes. Number 3, we do have byte array. And number 4, we have got list. Number 5, tuple. And 6 is range. So what's this str? Str in Python means a string type. So it is a string type represented as group of characters. Group of characters is said to be a string. Now, how do we represent it? Now, for example, I'll take this. I'll put it like this, x5, and then I'll just say string type. Now, I'll just say this like this, str equal to. Now, I just can put it in just double quotes, and say something called software. Yeah, this is a string because it's a group of characters that we're just giving it here. And that's the reason why we call it as that's the reason why we call it a string of characters. We just do call it with that name. But the strings can span to multiple lines. So how do I do that? In order to span our string to multiple lines, we just have to give a triple quote, not a double quote. Just given it like this. Now I'll just say learning Python. Learning Python. And then again, I'll just write it in some other thing called core Python programming. This is how I've just done it. So similarly, again, I'll just say some statement. So Java programming. You can see that this particular string spanned to three lines that I've just written. Now, this is also considered to be a string. But this sort of string is what we call it as docstring. We've already given you what docstring means. Docstring is where, suppose if I just remove this variable, now this suddenly becomes a comment. Now it has become a comment. So this is of no use. We cannot do any manipulations. It's just only for user documentation that we're just working on with. So that's what we call docstring. So now what I'll do is I'll just say str equal to, again, just done it like this. This is how I've just done. So ultimately, when we just look into here, we have got all these particular things as a string type. This is the first one. So now I can just even print that value. Just say print followed by str. Just do it like this. Right click on it and then say run. Now it just prints that particular string that we have already had. Can you just see that the string got printed? But we can perform lots of manipulations regarding this. See, I can just I'll be teaching you in such a way that we can perform the concatenation of strings. We can perform the finding the length of the strings. We can reverse the string. We can just do everything with respect to our string that we're just using with. So this is what we call basically the string data type, as in fact the first one. Just introducing you all the data types. Then next comes byte. So byte is a very peculiar kind of a data type because byte represents a byte of numbers just like array. It's exactly like array that we have worked. So what is array first of all? because since we are in a beginning stage, I'll just explain all the things that we need to look into. So it's just like an array. Array means a group of elements, a homogeneous group of elements having same name, same type, and same size. So similarly, byte is also of the same kind. So a byte is a group of elements, bytes, numbers, just like array. A byte number is positive number from 0 to 255. So that means byte can store only up to 255 elements. Byte cannot store negative numbers, moreover. It cannot display as the negative numbers. Now, for suppose, just would like to see how byte looks like. This is how the byte looks like. Yeah. Now, example of bytes. So I'll put it like this. I'll just say elements equal to, and we have to just give a square bracket in order to give the values of the thing. Now I'll just say like this. This is how we write it. Yeah, these are the bytes that we want. Now, when I just say x equal to bytes of elements, we just said it like this. Now, print x of 0. So when I just say x of 0, it just prints like this. It just prints the 0th element because the index always starts from the 0th element, then goes to the first element, then comes to the next element, the third, fourth, and fifth. Just goes on like that. But what happens if I just give more than 255? Suppose I just give 300. Let's assume that I've just given a value of 300 for a byte. Now I'm just executing this particular code. Did you notice? Immediately it just gives us a message stating that, look, your byte should range within 0 to 256. That is what byte data type does. So it's this is the thing that we have for here when we just do byte. So that means 0 to 255 is inclusive. I have just given it as 255. It's inclusive. So inclusive in the sense starts from 0 and goes up to 255. 256 means it comes up to 255. So that's how we just do have, in fact. Now, when it comes to, so that's the reason why we cannot give more than 255 elements. So even 256 is also not accepted basically. Suppose I just give 256 over here like this right now. So it's inclusive in such a way that we just need to work on that particular thing. You can see here. So max of 255 is given. And moreover, the main concept that we have got pertaining to byte is that we cannot modify or edit any elements of the byte array. That is the main concept that we have got with byte. And there is another one called byte array. So byte array is exactly similar to that of a byte. But the difference is that bytes can be modified. Sorry, bytes cannot be modified, beg your pardon. Bytes cannot be modified once created, whereas byte array can be modified even after creation. That is how byte array looks like. I'll just show you how byte array works with. Please see that. So when we look into byte array, I'll go ahead with this particular thing with some value. So in order to specify that, I'll give it as x equal to byte array. Yeah, byte array of elements. Like this I've just given. Now, just would like to rather just modify that. I'll just say x of 0 equal to, okay, and then followed by 100. X of 1 equal to 200. Now, you can just see how I am just printing out. I'm just printing out x of 0. Then I'm just printing out x of 1. So in the hitherto example, if I do it like this, it just definitely shows me, displays an error. But here, it could comfortably alter or modify. No, the other things are regular. Suppose if I just say x of 2 and x of 3 like this, since I've not dealt loops yet, I'm not using any for loop and all. Or else otherwise I could have used for loop in order to display the same. Now you can see all the others are same. It just displays as usual. So the main difference between byte and byte array is that byte array can be modified. Bytes cannot be modified. But I request all the three of you to listen first to all the data types. Then certainly I'll help you out in such a way that where they use in real scenario, all these concepts, how we work on with it. First, I'm just giving you the concepts, even including control statements and all. Then I'll just show you. I'll take you. I mean, I'll be discussing it with you with a simple scenarios where we use all these particular stuff. Well, if I just do the same with bytes, yeah, now you can just see. If I just do the same with bytes, you can see as to how it just behaves. Now it will immediately ask me, stating that byte doesn't support item assignment. So that means you cannot assign the value to bytes. That means we cannot modify the values to bytes. So we can just use only byte array. That's all. Now this sounds good. We can just modify that particular thing. So three of you, please remember that byte and byte array means byte is just like a group of numbers that is getting stored with a restriction in such a way that it can store only 255 elements. Whereas when it comes to byte array is of a different kind. Byte array stores basically, it also stores 255 elements, but we can modify the contents of the byte array. That's what we can just do it. And that's the reason why we just use this particular thing. Of course, regarding to sequence, this one. But now let's just focus on another big one. And that big concept that we have just got is basically, yeah, one second. Yeah, that big concept that we just do got is basically list and tuples. Rather, just would like to rather further continue with what lists and what tuples are. We having discussed about byte and byte array. Let us just further take our discussion to a concept called lists. Lists are really fantastic, you know. So I just would like to rather just go with what lists are and why we need to use them. Lists in Python are similar to arrays in C and Java. That is what we call lists. Lists in Python are exactly similar to arrays. I have already told you what an array means. An array is a homogeneous group of elements having same name, same type, and of same size. That's what we call array as. In the same way, lists are also represented. Lists in Python are similar to arrays in C and Java. A list represents group of elements, but you can represent a heterogeneous type of values, not a homogeneous. Lists can be heterogeneous. It might need not be homogeneous. So one of the main things, the difference between array and list is that list can store different types of elements, but array can store only one type of element. That is, lists are heterogeneous, arrays are homogeneous. That is the first big difference that we have got. So how do I differentiate? How do I figure out that we have just done as a list and all? To see whether we have just used list or not, lists are used only with square brackets. You can see that this is the thing. Even now, what I just tell you is this is also a list. This is a list. Only thing is we are converting that. We are converting it to either bytes or byte array. That's what we are doing it. Similarly, now when I just like to show you as to how list looks like, let me just write it. I'll take up another new Python file over here like this, and then say example on lists. Lists. Now in this particular scenario, we have got like this in such a way that I'll just say lst equal to, and just put a square brackets. Now when we just include a square bracket, it means that we are using list. And let me just give the values. But remember, list is, I've told you that I'm just introducing you all the data types. There is a very big discussion on lists and very big discussion on tuples. Tuples, lists, dictionaries, all of these are represented as data types, and you've got a very big discussion on it. Let's discuss on that particular scenarios also basically, but I'll just do it like this. We just set it as 10, 20, comma, minus 15. I told you that my negative values also can be accepted, and then followed by 5, and then again I'll just say Vijay. Yeah, this is called heterogeneous. This is called heterogeneous, obviously, like this. Yeah, this is how. Is he see? So here we have got a couple of strings, integers, a couple of three integer values, and one negative value, negative integer. Now, if I just want to print that, it's very simple. I'll just say print LST. So you don't need a loop even. Just observe what it does. It just displays all the elements simultaneously at a time together. Now, whenever I just use a square bracket, immediately we have to come to a conclusion that we are just using a list. Yes, Bala, you got any query?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. We have lists in Java or C also, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the difference
Mm. Good question.
between, you
Yes,
said we
got
have
it,
array
got
as
it,
well,
got
right?
it, got it, got it. I got it. See,
Yeah.
all the three of you, what Bala is asking us that we do have lists in Java and C. So what's the difference that we have got to that of a list that we have got in Java and C to that of Python? Well, let me just first tell you what we call lists in Java as. Lists in Java are called as array lists or vector. And number one, number two, uh, lists in Java are also array lists in Java are also heterogeneous, and they're also rather modifiable. Everything for that matter. But the thing is, there in Java and C, array lists and linked lists are a part of data structures, the collection framework. But here, it's not of that particular kind. It's just simply a list. Here we do have even a collections or the data structures that we have. We do have a different scenario over here. But initially, in order to this list can be compared exactly to that of a structure in C rather than calling it as lists in Java or C programming. It is a structure in the sense group of heterogeneous values having same name but of different type and different size. That's what we do call it. Clear, Bala?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, both of you, Palak and Chandu, once again, I just repeat it here. So, lists can be compared to structures in C rather than comparing it with lists and other components that we do have it. It can be compared with structures. So, that is the reason why structure in C is also a heterogeneous type of elements, where we have a group of elements having a different name, same name of different type and different size. That's what I've just done here. Similarly, we have got another one called tuple. Tuples are also exactly similar to the tuple list, but a tuple can contain a group of elements with different types. Yeah, tuple is also exactly like list only. Tuple is also a group of elements with heterogeneous type. List is also of a group of elements with heterogeneous type. Now, what is that difference that we find between tuple and list? So, to differentiate it, number one, we can differentiate tuple to list in such a way that lists are represented in square brackets, whereas tuple elements are represented in parentheses like this. They're represented as parentheses. This is how we just see it. Now, it is possible to modify the elements in a list. Oh, wow. Just like byte and byte array. In byte array, we can modify it, whereas in byte, we cannot do it. The same way, in list, we can modify, and in tuple, it's not more possible for us to modify it. That's again another one. See, I can just do the same with tuple also here to show you. I'll just say TPL equal to, and then just open up raise over here, and then put some values like this. These are the values that I just include. Yeah. Now you can see, and moreover, again, another floating point type also. You can see that there are a number of integer values and one negative value, of course, and a couple of strings with one floating point type. So I'll be doing it like this as TPL. I've just given a tuple value over here like this. when I just gone into, yeah, there it is. You can see that. So this is identification wise, tuple and lists are very simple. Only thing that we need to know is that how tuples are represented and lists are represented. Tuples are always represented with the parentheses that we have got here, whereas lists are represented with the square braces that we have got, like this. This is how we just do use it. Now, the other one that we do have it basically over here is range data type. We just have got range. Let me just focus on that. What is range? Range is the data type that represents a range of values. We just do use a range of values basically. In fact, it means that, so I'll just be using like this, called R equal to range of 10. Is something like this. And I just use a simple for loop. So for I in R, print I. So that means all the values that you got in R must be populated one by one into I, and then it has to print. So initially 0 will be printed. Then comes 1. So up to 9 it just goes. That means range contains a group of values, group of integer values in order to display that. That's how it just happens to be. So we've got a lot of things to discuss with range. Let me just show you how range looks like. See, I've just printed only tuple and list, but I'll just get back to this particular string later when I just go into an exhaustive discussion about what lists are, what tuples are, because we do have to discuss a lot of functions, what list can do, what are all the list of functions that are available in list, how we use it. So everything will just be coming up to that particular thing, in fact. Now, when it just comes to range, so I'll just give it like this. R equal to range of 10. This is the first example. Now I'll just say for I in R colon, just want to print that particular value called I. Just wanted to print I. That's it. Now, when I execute it, just looks like this. Yeah, you can see, just see that starts from 0, yeah, over here and goes up to 9. That is what you call range. But range does have few other uh, parameters also. Like say, suppose I just say only, I just want to start only from 5. You can just prefix the end value with the start value. And now you can run the code whereby it just starts only from 5. So it just goes to from 5 to 9. Now I just wanted to use another one called skip value. Just will be using it like this. So this is the skip value that I'm just using it. And skip value in the sense, just see the impact. We just started off with 5, then it skipped a couple of values, came to 7, then it skipped a couple of values and then came to 9. That means starting from 5, 5 and 6. After skipping a couple of values, then it has printed 7. Then 7 and 8. After skipping a couple of values, it has printed 9. So that's how it just prints. So there are 3 interesting parameters that we have got with the range. One is just the end value to be given. That means it just starts with 0. The first one is, the next one is that you just specify the start value and the end value. And the third one that we have got is we have just given a start value, end value, and then the skip value. Yeah, I guess you have understood this, Chandu, right? And
Yes, Sunny.
yeah, thank you. And you, Bala,
Yeah,
yeah,
got it.
fine.
Yeah, got
And
it.
Palak, you understood it?
Yes,
Yes, that's
yes,
yes. So this is the simple concept of, see, you can see in all these scenarios, in all these cases, I'm just using a sequence. Sequence is nothing but a group of values. The above said 3 lines of code that we have written over there just uses a sequence. Sequence in the sense it just gives us a sequence of values that we just need to work with. So that's how we just use it. Then comes again another one, another data type called set. We just have to use that. Set is an unordered collection of elements. It's not an ordered, unordered collection of elements, much like set in mathematics. So the order of elements is not maintained. So just like in mathematics, the order of elements of the set are not maintained. The same way here also. So the order of elements are not maintained in the sets. It means that elements may not appear in the same order as they are entered in the set. Moreover, Sets does not accept any duplicate values. Sets that do not accept any duplicate values rather when we just do work with. Now, sets are comprised of two different types. One is the set data type. The second one that we've got is the frozen set type. Call it as frozen set. Likewise, set is one. The second one that we've got is the frozen set. So, to create a set, we should enter the elements separated by commas in curly braces. So, we just need to use a curly brace in order to work with a set, basically. Similarly, we've got another one called frozen set. Frozen set means it's same as set data type, but the main difference is elements in a set data type can be modified, whereas frozen set cannot be modified. So I'll just show you how we just do work with set and frozen set also now. So I'll just say s equal to, just open a curly brace. I'll just put it like this. While we open a curly brace itself indicates that we're just using a set. So just put it like this. Gain 20 and now 50. See some set of values. Now I'll just say print s. That's how we just have done it. When I just execute this, yeah, this is what I just what I was telling you, that set doesn't maintain any order. Moreover, if there are repetition, it just displays only unique values. There are repetition, it just displays only unique values of that particular kind. So it just has printed as 10, 20, and then followed by 50 and 30. The order of sequence is not maintained. And then similarly, even for strings also, I'll give you why it will not maintain an order. I'll teach you with a practical example. I'm telling you that I'm just introducing you all the functions that we just do. What each and every, all these topics are to be dealt in detail. It's not just one day or just 1 hour of session where you can just complete lists, tuples, and all. So tuples have got a lot of functions. List has got a lot of functions to be discussed with. Similarly, the same sets we call it as dictionaries. We just have got mappings. So we've got a lot of things to be discussed with dictionaries and all. So when I just use like this, I can just even use a function called set and then simply say, just say hello like this and then print ch. When we just do work on with this particular thing, we can see here that it just simply displays, yeah, in a jumbled way of giving us the string. So order absolutely is not maintained. Order absolutely is not maintained and order is not absolutely displayed. But what is frozen set? There is another data type called frozen set. Frozen set is same as set data type, but the main difference is elements of the set can be modified, whereas frozen set cannot be modified. So we have seen byte array can be modified, byte cannot be modified. List can be modified, tuples cannot be modified. Set can be modified, whereas frozen set cannot be modified. The working is same for all the three. Working is exactly similar to all the three that we just use it, in fact. Then we have the other type called mapping type, rather. Mapping type, we call it. A map represents the key value pairs so that when the key is given, we retrieve the values from mapping type. It just represents a key value pair. Now, these keys and values are called dictionaries. We call it as dictionary. Dictionary means which contains the key value pairs in order to perform. So I'll just tell you, it's exactly similar to that of a database type kind of a thing. So it's kind of a database kind of a stuff. So database in the sense we have a column and then we do have the rows for the particular column that we're just working with. Similarly, we do have like this. Map is exactly of the same kind. It just represents a key value pair so that the keys, when the key is given, we retrieve the values. And these key value pairs are what we call it as dictionaries. They're called as dictionaries, in fact. Other than this, we have user-defined types also. User-defined types are arrays. We've got class. We've got modules. So we're going to look into all these concepts wherein We're just going to see study all these concepts very exhaustively. So now there is another concept also called constants. I was telling you about this yesterday. So when it comes to the concept of constants, constants mean basically a variable with a fixed value. Variable with a fixed value in the sense I here mean that it doesn't change. A value for which the variable's value does not change. Pi is basically a constant value where we can work on with that particular thing. Then every language that we just work with has got its own style of working. Like say style of working in the sense that every language has got its own keywords. Just would like to just teach you what keywords are. In fact, keywords are the reserved words that we have got in Python. They're used to these reserved words are used in our programming when we discuss or when we work with. It means keywords cannot be used as variable names. First point, and moreover, this is a very important thing. In 3.5 version, from 3.6 version of Python, we have seen 45 keywords. The new keywords, 5 new keywords got added. I'll be using, we've already started using, but we'll be further using a lot of keywords like if, like say, we do use like while, we use like for. So all those are the keywords that we just do use it. Now, there is another interesting concept that we have here to discuss. I've been telling you about the concept of variables, but Python is both object oriented and procedure oriented. Mainly, it focuses on object oriented concepts. So, when Python calls the entire entity, it stores it as an object type. It means there are three built in objects in Python. Three most important built in types. One is type object. The second one that we've got is value object. And then the third one that we have is ID object. Type is one, value is again another one, and third one is ID. Now, type determines the operations that can be performed on the object. Operations in the sense, what type of operations that I can just perform are represented using type object. Then comes the value. Value is nothing but the literal values that we just use it. I'll show you how we just use literals and all. And ID. ID is generally the memory location. So I'll give you a better example on this particular thing. Just a second. Okay, not this, I guess. Well, I'll get with the examples very shortly. Basically, I'll go with as to how to use because I need to use certain variable memory locations and all the other stuff. I'll just be coming up with that particular thing. But uh, in fact, to rather just discuss about what type is and value or ID is, I'll take up a better examples to represent how the memory object locations and memory locations are used. But there are a few other important concepts prevailing in Python to use, and they are called as operators that we just use it. Operators means the operations that are carried out on the data. So we carry out certain operations that we have got on the data is represented in the form of operators. It means the symbol triggers an action on the data. So it just triggers to the action that we just do perform. It has got a very rich set of operators like number one, arithmetic operators. That is the first one. Then the second one that we have got is basically the relational operators. Third one is identity operators. The fourth one is logical operators. The fifth one is bitwise operators. Then the sixth one that we have got called membership operators. These are the list of operators. The first one, arithmetic operators. The second one, relational operators. The third one, identity operators. The fourth one, logical operators. The fifth one, bitwise operators. And then the sixth one, membership operators. How does arithmetic operator looks like? These are the list of arithmetic operators that we use in our Python. One is plus. This is one operator, which we call it as addition operator. We just do use it with that name. Then we've got another one called minus, which we call it as subtraction operator. So we just use it. Then we've got another one called into, that is asterisk, which we call it as multiplication. And we've got division. This is again a very popular and peculiar operator that we've got called division. And there is another thing called double slash, which we call it as floor division. See, now, what's this floor division and division doing here? So, floor division, in the sense, it removes the decimals, or decimals in the sense, removes the part of it, floating point values and integer values. But whereas when it comes to the division part of it, we just do only the normal integer part. Now I'll show you with an example. So when it just comes to this, I'll take up a new project over here, new file. Yeah, here it is. Here it goes. I'll just say sum A equal to say 10 or B equal to 20, something like this. There are a couple of values that I've just given. And after this, having returned this particular thing, I'll just say print A plus B. Okay, that's fine. That is given. Then I'll just say print A minus B. This is also fine. We've just understood it. And then print A into B. This is also that we've just done it. But the concept comes here called division. Similarly, when immediately I'll be using A double slash B. Now let's figure out the difference. Now when I just say this, you can see here that literally when it just displays, you don't find much difference, but you do find certainly a small difference. When I'm just trying to divide 10 with 20, here it is just given 0.5. That is the floating point values gets divided. When the floating point values, in the sense, when you divide it, it displays the exact value. But when we use a floor division, it doesn't treat the decimal points. Rather, it just displays only the integer values, integer part. Integer portion gets displayed. That means sounds good with the integer type of values when we divide it with the help of it. And that's the reason why. And moreover, now suppose I just give another one called x equal to minus 10 and then y equal to 5. Now I just want to perform floor division. Just say like this, x divided by y. When we do it like this, you can see here that we have just done it as minus 2. See, all the time when you're just seeing it, it's just displaying only integer, but not the floating point type. Floating point in the sense it has to contain a precision, which is not done here. It doesn't display any value that contains a precision, rather. Just displays only the integer part of it. That's what it's just trying to do for us. So I guess all the three of you have understood. Bala, you've understood what floor division is, the difference between floor division and the normal division that we've got, and even Chandu Garu, and you and Palak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Now, the same way, we do have the other operator, and that operator is what we call it as double asterisk, which we call it as exponentiation. This is what we do call it. Double asterisk means exponentiation. So you can just see that we've got an addition operator, we've got a subtraction operator, we've got multiplication operator, division, floor division, and then modulus, and followed by the exponentiation that we do need to rather look into. Exponentiation in the sense raised to the power. We do call it like that. So uh, we'll use it even that also. The same time, we do have the other one called unary operator. Unary operator means there is only one, I mean, it just works on only one operator, like plus and minus. Now, all the arithmetic operators of floor division is performed only in the whole part of it. Whole part in the sense the integer part, and fractional part gets truncated. That's what you call floor division as. That's the reason I've just given you as a part of a note. Then comes the other one called relational operators. Relational operators, we call that as conditional operators. Now, it just represents the relationship with one variable to another variable. So we do have it like this: greater than, then we've got less than, then we do have a double equal to, which we call it as comparison operator, and then we just do give it like this: exclamatory equals to, which we call it as not equals to. So all these are basically the relational operators that we use it in a very clear way to rather just represent it. We just do work on it. Now there are few other operators also called identity operators. Identity operators means it is used to check if both the operands refer to same object in the memory. Suppose I give it like this: num1 equal to 10, num2 is also equal to 10. That we've just done it. Now what I'll do is I'll just say print num1 is num2. This is how I've just done. Is one identity operator. Now when I just run the score, just see here, wow, it returns true. That means both these values are loaded from the single memory location, though you got two different variables. Just prove that particular thing for you. Print ID of num1 and then print ID of num2. So when I've just given it like this, ID is a function used to represent the memory of the system's memory where our variable is stored. I was telling you earlier over here, telling you that there are three different types of objects: type, value, and ID. Of which ID means it displays the memory location or memory address location of our variable that we're just using it. So that's one of the main reasons why we just do use it. And here comes like this. When I've just said the same thing, you do have it. So now suppose I just change the value into it, just be giving it like this. Now after changing it, I'll execute this code. It says false. Why? You can see even the address also got changed. So this is a different address and this is a different address. So address of the variable gets changed when we just do use it. When we use the different values, that means every variable, when it has a different value, will be stored in different address locations. But at the same time, when multiple variables hold the same values, then it's loaded from the same address location, and that can be represented by using if. Here I just wanted to cite a couple of things. One is ID, the other one is operator. Now I'll just do another one. Suppose I'll just say like this: 10 and 10 again, because these are the objects that we just got. And when I just run this view, it just looks like this and displays the same address location. Now both are same, just gets loaded. Now if I just say is not, so num1 is not num2, we just said it like this. Yeah, when I've just mentioned it, it says false, because num1 is num2, because they're loaded from the same address location that we've got. So that's the reason why is and is not are a couple of identity operators. Here it is, returns true if both its operands are pointing to the same object. When they point to the same object, it returns true. And both are that means both are referring to the same memory location, or else it returns false.
A question here,
Yes,
one question.
yes, please carry on.
So variable assignments doesn't go by name. So is it going by value then? If
Exactly. Very good
they are
question.
going by
Very
memory.
good question. Very good question. Since variables are variant in nature in Python, that means we're not using any data types. So that's the reason why it goes by value. Whereas unlike in other languages like C, C++ and all, it goes along with the variable name because we strictly associate those variables with some type. Say you might say integer type or float type or double type or any other any other data type that we have got pertaining to that particular language that we're just using it. But whereas when it comes to Python, it's not like that. It's the value that's the reason I was telling you yesterday that all the variables are variant in nature. That means it depends upon the value that we specify it. Got it, Bala? Clear?
So we can store X number of
Yes.
variables with the same value then.
Yes, yes. And we can. That's the beauty of it. See, since you'll be confused, I've not mentioned it, or else otherwise I can just do it like this. I can just say A. This leads to confusion because now you might ask me, "Arey, already there is A at the top. You've just given 10 or something of that particular kind. Again, I'm just initializing it. Yes, obviously, I'm just doing it. You can do it because it doesn't go with the variable name. It goes with the variable's value that you just give it. So that's the reason why it always represents the value rather than the name that we do have it. Clear?
Okay, so the name is just for our understanding.
Yes,
Can we
exactly.
put it in that way?
Exactly. We can project in that way. It's just for our understanding that we just do give it.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Palak, you understood what Bala was asking me?
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have the other one. And you, Chandu, I guess you also have understood it, right?
Yes.
Yes. Seems Palak has got some doubt, some query.
No.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So logical operators returns Boolean value. That means it returns a value of true or false, rather. Means there are three important logical operators that we've got called and, or not. These are the three values that we do have it. So that means and means the given both the conditions are true, then the result is true. Both the given conditions must be true. Then obviously our result will be true. Rather. And then or means any one of the condition is true, then the result is true. Not just both the things. Any one condition might satisfy, then result will certainly lead to true. And not means it's an alternative, like say to true or false. Either of the things can work for us, obviously. So we'll be using logical operators also quite comprehensively in our examples when we just do look into it. Then comes another one. Mean to say that this has got a lot of importance, but has to be focused on with, and that operators or those operators are called bitwise operators. Means bitwise operators are similar to logical operators, except that it works only on binary values, not on the normal decimal values that we are using it. It works only on binary values, binary representation. This is the value that we just use it. Ampersand symbol. The AND operator compares two bits and generates the results of one if both the bits are one or otherwise zero. Then we've got another one called OR. The OR operator compares two bits and generates a result of one and if bits are complementary. Then we've got another one called caret. The exclusive OR operator compares two bits and returns one either of the bits are done it like this. There's a thing that we just do have got. Then again another one called tilde operator. The complement operator used to invert all. I'll be showing you how we just do use the bitwise operators while I just teach you as to how the binary values go with. We have a function called bin. I'll be using them, and when I just use them, you can just see that. And then comes finally the membership operators that we have got. Membership operators are in. In is one operator that we have got. That means it returns the elements if the elements are found in a specific sequence. And then there is another one called not in. Works in a reverse manner to that of an in operator that we just do use in fact. So all these operators that I've just cited above will be given with an example and we'll be using it in our daily life, except bitwise. Bitwise, I'll be teaching you I'll be giving you examples exclusively, whereby we just perform only bit manipulation. That's the reason why we just do use it in fact rather with respect to the bitwise operators that we need to rather. So these are the basic concepts of operators that we use in Python. All these are the operators that we just do need to specify. And these are the operators that we just do work with. Well, in fact, now we have to, our next concept of discussion would be control statements. This is where the real programming comes in. But I just have to give you the examples, which I'll just be coming up in my next part of our discussion. That's tomorrow. So tomorrow we do have a session. If possible, I'll just even schedule a class on Sunday, my Sunday also. That will be your Saturday's evening. So because I'll not be available on Wednesday, then I'll let you know tomorrow as to timings with the thing. So I'll just be coming up with that particular thing. So I'll be coming up with more examples and practical orientation in our tomorrow's class regarding these operators. And then we'll move on to control statements. One of the very big concept, a very fantastic concept to use it, in fact, right? Bala and Palak and Chandu, I guess, right? All of you have understood our today's session basically, in fact.
Yes.
Yes.
And the moment I just create an ID for Dropbox, I'll just be uploading all these particular session recordings. It's already there, readily available. Yeah, here it is. You can see here. Only thing is, I just need to upload it. I'll just be doing it today. But today's even before my today evening, I'll just be uploading it so that all of you can download it, and I'll just give you I'll share the credentials for Dropbox as to what I'll just be creating it with. Usually, my credentials are over, but I'll just be creating another one.